This is my game. Although it might not be the most advanced game, there is a lot of code that went into this. I mean, if you look to the left, you will see how much code it took to make it. When you first look at the code, it looks pretty confusing, but once you learn some of the basics, this entire project just uses those basics, creativity, and a lot of somewhat complex logic. This game is made using a coding language called Processing.js, which I actually already learned when I was younger, but in making this I learned a lot of new techniques and improved a lot. A few of the things that I learned about and improved on were functions, as you can see right here. Their purpose is to make it so if you want to draw something rather complex over and over again, which would take hundreds of lines of code, you can create it by only using a few and telling it to copy the base item and move it to a different location. I don't know if that makes sense, but when you see it, that's the building. It just draws the building over and over again and in different places, so that way I don't have to draw a new building every time. I also learned about using optical illusions in my code, like if you saw the coin spinning or the bike handles turning, none of that is actually moving the way it looks. For example, the coin is actually just getting wider and thinner, which makes it look like it's spinning. No matter how many tricks and techniques I learned, every single line of code still had different problems, varying from writing 2 instead of 1, the logic of the code not making sense to the computer, or literally one character, not even a letter or a number being off so the entire code will break. No matter what it was, I was able to adapt and problem solve to fix the code. That is why I believe coding ties to adaptability. Although I enjoyed creating my game, I felt like I hadn't learned enough, since I already knew most of the language, so I decided to take SQL on Khan Academy. SQL is very different from other coding languages. I have learned in the past because the goal is not to design some cool video game or website. It is used to collect and organize data. Although I understand that this sounds like the least fun thing ever to do, I really enjoy learning and improving at SQL because it lets you see what happens behind the scenes of websites, and it lets you learn how they collect data, which is really interesting. I'm assuming that most of you have used a spreadsheet or a table. That is actually what SQL is. The only difference between spreadsheets and SQL is that with SQL, computers can understand the data you put in, and it runs a lot faster than spreadsheets if they both have an insane amount of data. Another benefit is that you can manipulate it in more ways than you would with a spreadsheet. This was one of my favorite inquiry projects, and I loved learning and diving into coding. I hope you enjoyed learning about how games and websites work. Thank you for Zooming.